I've always hated bullies. Since being the fat Jewish kid at school that never quite fit in, and then becoming the trainee who realized I could do something about these behaviors, I've always hated bullies. And so I was pretty lucky when I got to be part of an organization that meant we could do something about it. Now, actually, this organization, it's a trainee organization, and it was the team before me, when I was just vice president, who felt we should do a census. We wanted to ask trainees how they felt about things, kind of a State of the Union type thing. So we asked them all the questions. Where do you live? Where do you work? And one of the things that I really wanted to look at were behaviors like bullying, undermining, and harassment. Now, we're not daft, and so the reason we got this data was because we said, look, we also will have a prize draw and give you $2,000 if you win it. So we actually got a pretty good amount of data out of it. Now, I knew what I thought would happen. I knew what I thought it would say. It would say that some people were unhappy and some people were pretty happy. But I was shocked by some of the data we got. Now, one of the other reasons that we got such good data was that we'd actually said to these trainees, we're going to make you a pledge. Number one, we're going to keep it anonymous so that no one can go, it's you. You said this. And number two, we promise that whatever we find, we'll do something about. If it says that we're wasting our time barking up the wrong tree, we'll all just go to the pub and say, look, okay, fine, it's not a problem. But if we find something meaningful, something we can do something about, we'll do it. And this data came back, and it blew my mind. But people use words like bullying and harassment, undermining, and they're pretty emotive words, and they mean very different things. So they need to be defined. And bullying is where someone uses power to make you feel frightened or afraid and do something you don't want to do. Okay? I'm your boss, and you're not going to have lunch today. Okay. Undermining is far more subversive. Undermining is where you make someone feel small, worthless, powerless, like they have no value. And harassment, well, harassment are those protected characteristics we talk about: age, gender, sexuality, and so on. And we asked two really powerful questions. We asked whether or not people had experienced those things in the month preceding the census, and if they'd ever perceived them. One of the other big challenges people say is, well, perception, it's all in the eye of the beholder. But is it really? I think that's one of the more powerful things, because actually, and this is one of the things that always comes up when we talk about these behaviors, is if I'm chatting to you, and you're my trainee, and we get on really well, and I just tell you, just man up. Just man up. And we have a laugh, and it's great, and everyone laughs. Except for that one medical student at the back of the room, that one nurse in theatre who goes, I can't believe he spoke to that person that way. I can't believe he made him feel that way. And so actually, perception is really powerful, and we had some data that showed that there was a problem with these behaviors. But don't get me wrong, this is not a trainee problem. There's loads of other surveys out there, and I could, if I want to, put loads of graphs up to show that everyone experiences, because this isn't a trainee problem, this is a cultural problem. And so to fix it, we need to change culture. Now here's the thing. I believe that training should be like family. So your mum and dad loved you, I hope. And what that meant was that sometimes they rewarded you. You've done really well. Good for you. Here's a present. And sometimes they told you, go to your room. And you, Mum. Ugh. But the next day, you knew that they still loved you. They knew what was best for you. And that's kind of the relationship you had with your parents, you would hope. But here's the thing. A couple of years ago, someone turned around to parents and said, don't hit your kids. Not only don't hit your kids, if you hit your children, that's abuse. You're a child abuser. What? Yeah, it's bad parenting to hit your kids. And so what happened? Well, the parents said, well, my parents hit me, and their parents hit them. So does that make me a bad parent? And my parents were bad parents? In fact, were all parents preceding this press release bad parents? And what we say is, no, it's not like that at all, because if you make it a blame thing, if you make it a them and an us thing, a trainee and a trainer thing, or a doctor and a nurse thing, then instantly it becomes a blame thing. And so, of course, people are going to take it personally. You're a bad parent. You're a bad trainer. You're a bad nurse. You're a bad person. And what we're saying is, actually, no. We just know that things have changed. There's been a paradigm shift. And we know that there are better ways of doing things. There are better ways of training than making someone feel small and building them up again. There's better ways of educating someone than bashing the knowledge into their head. Because actually, That does work. There are just better ways of doing it that means that everyone feels better about it. But if you think about other campaigns to change culture, if you think about smoking or seatbelts, this is going to take a generation because it's not easy. Because you know what? You have to reflect. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, I've reflected. And when you reflect, that always gets a laugh. When you reflect, you realize, oh, I've done this too. I've done this too. And I try to be better at work. But you know what? I'll share something with you. I still do it sometimes. Sometimes I put my foot in it. More often than not, I put my foot in it. But the fact is that the hardest bit is admitting that you have to change, and that maybe even the best of you and the worst of you can do a bit better, can change. But big change is nearly impossible. Everyone stop smoking. Problem solved. It's never going to happen. So what you have to do is small changes. Tectonic change. No one here will know that the tectonic plates under your feet are moving, but they are. And you have this slow movement. And without realizing it, the world is changing under your feet. And so that's what you need to do. And the best way to do it is to start with yourself. So you say, I'm going to look in the mirror, and next time I say something stupid at work, or something hurtful, or something spiteful, or something that isn't helpful, or it's the middle of the night and someone calls me up and I say, you know what? Did you even go to medical school? I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry I shouldn't have said that. How can I help you? Okay? And you change yourself. And eventually, if you change yourself enough, people will notice. They'll notice that you're changing. And so people will go, why is it that people prefer to work with that person than that person? Or they really like it when that person is on call and not that person. And so what they do is they role model off you. And that's not a hierarchical thing. People role model in all directions. So suddenly, you change yourself, and so the people you work with change. So you start to change your team. Suddenly, maybe your boss, or maybe your junior, or maybe your colleague goes, I saw Simon, after a really stressful case, go, do you know what, guys? I'm really sorry I raised my voice during that case, but thank you very much. I think I might do that, because people seem to respond really well to that. So you start to change your team, and then you realize, of course, why is it patients like going to that operating theatre or that clinic? Why is it that the nursing staff always try and swap and do this instead of that? And so you start to have a better team. And of course, we're all competitive. So when people go, well, that team's better than this team. I want to be that team. How do I make my team like their team? And so suddenly you start to change your unit. And if you change your unit, eventually people go, why is that unit doing better than that unit? And so eventually you change your hospital. And as we've seen from other speakers today, certain units, certain hospitals get held up. Look at what they've done. Look at what they've achieved. And if you can change your hospital, then you can start to change the health service. The whole health service. Not just hospital, not just GP practice, not just primary care or secondary care or paramedics or everyone. And then, because we're doctors and nurses and healthcare givers, we start to also change the way we interact with our patients. So actually, we literally start to change the world. And it all started because I asked you to change yourself. And I actually believe that by doing that, we can completely change the culture we work in, and the place where we make people better will get better. Thank you.